Hello, welcome back to the channel. So let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Okay, we're not going to talk about you and me, but we are going to talk about sex and masturbation and disabled people. How was I ever allowed to listen to that song at 10 years old on Kiss 95.1 on the radio? Wow. I'm happy to say that this video is sponsored by Vush, which is a sex toy company, but we're gonna get more into that and this little sucker. Literally, that's what you are. What you do. Okay. But yeah, stick around for later on in the video. We're gonna get down to the nitty-gritty about that. But for right now, let's talk about, do disabled people have sex? Do disabled people masturbate? And if you are new here and haven't really seen a whole lot of my sex-related videos, I do have a playlist up above, so go check that out. If you like these educational videos about sex, relationships, masturbation, disabled people, be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell as well so you don't miss out on any future uploads about this topic. So, funny enough, somehow, somewhere out there in the universe, a lot of able people tend to think that disabled people, whether they're deaf, blind, using a wheelchair, etc., they tend to think that we don't have sex, we're not desirable, dateable, etc., masturbate. Really, society just doesn't tend to think of us as sexual beings, and you see that a lot in mainstream media, things like that. But the actual fact is, disabled people are desirable, attractive, and we have relationships, sex, we masturbate. Not all of us, just like not all able people are having sex, masturbating, are sexual beings, but the point is that it is absolutely possible. You know, for deaf people like myself, it's pretty simple and to the point. You know, my ears don't work so well and they're not really required to really do anything, right? So, you know, I have used my hands, I have used some tools like these, you know, so that's pretty easy. Now, I do also have chronic pain, so sometimes that can be a little bit of a struggle, and tools do help me out a lot better because my hands will cramp up easily or they get tired. Reaching can sometimes be a problem just because muscles get pulled, and it's not always a fun time, but it is possible. But you may come across some disabled people that don't quite have movement in their hands and other body parts, so they might have someone masturbate for them. I believe Andrew Gurza has talked about this on Twitter. I'll have him linked down below and you can ask him questions if you like. But he is a sex worker and he's talked about this sort of thing very, very often on Twitter and other platforms. So go check him out for more information on that. Now, masturbating is probably just one small portion of able people's minds, right, when it comes to this kind of thing. But now, the actual act of having sex and being in a relationship, dating with other people, especially, well, you know, both able people and other disabled people even, that seems to be an even more, it's a much bigger, like, mind blown sort of moment. But yeah, that is a thing. There are disabled people of all sorts of disabilities that have sex with other people, that have relationships, are married, they have children even. That's another big question that I've seen quite a handful of able people have. Disabled people can have kids. Hey, yeah, there's a big possibility of disabled people having kids. Of course, you know, just like with able people, there are some circumstances where that's not going to happen. But just because somebody is disabled does not automatically mean that, hey, they're not going to be able to have kids. Also doesn't mean that nobody's going to want to have kids with them, because that's simply just not true. I have disabled friends of various disabilities, some of them in a wheelchair even, that are in a relationship, are married, and have kids. Multiples of them, in fact. And for me, I've had sex with able people. So again, definitely possible. Of course, there is the question of people being like, so what do deaf people sound like when they're having sex? And, well, we're not gonna go there, but that is definitely something on people's mind. Actually, in the Hurry People Say video, I remember that the very last line was about that sort of thing. And I said, something along the lines of, here's a front row ticket, so go find out. Actually, that offer is off the table, and it's always been off the table. Some people were looking forward to it, but that's not gonna happen. But then there's the question of, well, how are disabled people having sex, especially those who might be in wheelchairs or just other disabilities. For me, we're going to take my deafness out of the equation because, well, no, okay, that there can sometimes be an issue there with awkward communication barriers and things like that, but those things get worked out. Always make sure you double check that there's consent if your deaf partner doesn't hear well with hearing aids, and otherwise, although I've heard some deaf people taking hearing aids out and shorting cochlear implants off because they don't want to hear that. I don't blame you. It sounds awkward sometimes. But yeah, start learning your sign language vocabulary for consent and otherwise because you're gonna need it. But in terms of chronic pain and chronic fatigue, different positions do better than others. Pillows are a really great thing. They definitely help. One, they help to make things feel better just across the board. But in terms of pain, especially for me, I get a lot of pain in my lower back, so that's definitely where you want to have some sort of cushion. And things like sex swings definitely come in handy here. I mean, you can adjust the height, you can adjust, what position that you're going to be in, so it makes things so much easier than having to lay down on a bed or be on a chair or wherever and then try to conform your body into something that is just not doable. I never used one personally, but those things do seem very useful. I have a friend with spina bifida that has used one and really, really likes it, so if she approves it, I think that's all you need to know. But now, why is it that society thinks of disabled people as not attractive, not desirable, not sexual? And really, it all comes down to ableism and Hollywood portraying ableism, which kind of just, I guess you could count them as one. But anyway, you never really see a whole lot of disabled people in relationships. You have some shows in Hollywood and mainstream media like Twisted at Birth and Weeds, which have shown the deaf characters having relationships and having sex this close with and created by Shoshana Stern and Josh Feldman. Not exactly mainstream media because it's created by disabled people, but still, that has been put on Sundance, and you do see all two people having relationships, having sex, being sexual in general, and that's the kind of content that we need to see. But you don't really get that a whole lot in mainstream media. What you really get in mainstream media is a single disabled person, discrimination, them being made fun of. I don't really think, besides Marlee Matlin being in a Lifetime movie and there being a sex scene, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head that really shows a disabled person in any way, shape, or form being happy and not being used as inspiration, porn. And I don't mean inspiration porn like that kind of porn, I mean the sympathy kind of porn, right? A lot of the time, able people seem to not really meet or know a disabled person in their life, in their personal life, so they get their knowledge from TV shows and movies, and when that's all that they see, that's all that they know, so they're gonna get really surprised when they see or hear about the fact that we masturbate and we have sex. So Hollywood, stuff like that really needs to change. Not just with allowing disabled creators to make their own content and Hollywood showing that type of content, but I would like to see able people have more plot lines of disabled people. With disabled people also being part of the creative process, because sometimes unabled creators kind of get things wrong. Me before you, for example. But if we could change the narrative, that would be fantastic. And that would show people that we're here and we want to do it. And we do it. And now, with all this masturbation and sex talk going on, let's talk about our sponsor, Vush, and their product, the Empress, shall we? If you don't know what Vush is a sex toy company, obviously. But they're not just that. Right now, they're having this movement where they're trying to break the stigma when it comes to masturbation, right? Masturbation is healthy, and if people want to do it, they should do it. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing taboo about it, or there shouldn't be anything taboo about it. Masturbation is about self-love and really knowing your body, and that's important when you go and have sex with somebody else, right? Because you know what you want, and then you can just get that when you go to have sex with somebody else. I never really quite understood the stigma. I mean, I know why it's there, but it doesn't really hurt anybody. But for some reason, there's a double standard when it comes to some people. You know, some people are allowed to go off and masturbate, and it's just fine. But if some other people that are affected by the patriarchy, if they want to do it, then that becomes this big problem, and it's gross, and it's weird, and people think it's so weird sometimes to own a vibrator. But why? And also in relationships, it should not be so awkward. I've seen people get really weird about people having vibrators involved in their sex life, and I just don't understand it. But hey, if you're looking for a new masturbation tool or a tool to spice up your sex life, maybe consider this one. So this is the Empress, and this goes back to that wonderful little joke I made in the beginning, but it's a clit vibrator, basically. And this is supposed to mimic, if you're someone who has a clitoris, right, the act of somebody going down on you. So if you don't have anybody available to go down on you, you can use this if you're really wanting that type of action. What I like about this is that this is simple and not as intense as other things that I have used. So if you're not wanting to go completely overboard during your own sexy time, you just want something soft and simple, this is what's gonna do it. But it's not always just soft. It has 8 different settings so that you can go as soft as you want, as slow as you want, or you can amp it up to the highest setting, and, you know, maybe you don't have time, you just want to get done. This is going to do that for you. I've taken it to town a few times, and I'm pretty impressed with it myself. The other good thing that I like, you know how some sex toys have batteries and then they die, and it's annoying, and then you have to go to the store and go get new ones and things like that? You don't have to do that with this, because it is USB rechargeable. We love USB rechargeable things. This also comes with a 6-month warranty, so if something happens to it during any time of that 6 months, go to customer service and they'll help you out. But Rikki, I live with my parents. I really want it, but I don't want them to know that I have this. Does it come with discreet packaging? Yes, it is. It comes in discreet packaging and with for global shipping. We love free shipping in this house. If you're interested in this product and want one for yourself, I do have a 65% off code, Rikki65. I'll have it somewhere on this video. Also will be down in the description box, along with a link to this product, so you can go nuts. Go wild. Buy yourself one. Buy another one for your friends, you know. Are you a newbie sex worker looking for a new toy? Here you go. So thank you, Vush, for sponsoring this video. I really do appreciate it. So question of the day for this video, for my disabled viewers, what is one tip you would give to your able partner, or even a disabled partner that doesn't have the same disability as you? Or actually, you know what, in fact, even people with the same disability will have different accessibility needs. So let's put it this way. To my disabled viewers, what is one tip that you would give to your partner that would help you out with your sex life? Let me know in the comments down below. If you'd like to translate this video, I'll have a translation link down below. Always helps out, very much appreciated. Be sure to share this video with your friends. Maybe be cautious of your grandmother on Facebook, but hey, shares of the video help out with channel growth, channel video growth, so always very much appreciated. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this video, and I will see you later. Bye.